Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Prasar Bharati. Coming up in the next hour. US President Donald Trump warns Russia of severe consequences if Alaska meet fails to achieve ceasefire. Europe's coalition of the willing urges for Ukraine's involvement in Trump-Putin meet, calls for lasting peace in region as Zelensky to meet Starmer in UK. President Draupadi Murmu to address the nation on the eve of 79th Independence Day. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to lead the Independence Day celebrations from the iconic Red Fort in Delhi. French football club PSG edge out Tottenham on penalties to win first ever UEFA Super Cup. Parisians takes its tally to 5 trophies in 2025. US President Donald Trump issued a stark warning to Russian President Vladimir Putin, threatening severe consequences if Moscow obstructs peace in Ukraine. Trump did not specify what the consequences could be, but hinted that punitive measures, possibly economic sanctions, could follow if their meeting on Friday fails to produce results. Putin and Trump are due to meet in Alaska, the first US-Russian summit since 2021, and will focus on ending the conflict in Ukraine. Trump stressed that the talks would serve as a stepping stone for a possible second meeting, this time involving Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump did not provide a time frame for a second meeting.
If Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
there will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences.
Russia, however, has maintained its stance on the conflict since June 2024, with President Putin demanding the full withdrawal of Kyiv's forces from key Ukrainian regions and the abandonment of its NATO ambitions. Earlier on Wednesday, European leaders and Ukrainian President Zelensky spoke with Trump in a last-ditch call hosted by Germany to lay out red lines ahead of the Alaska meeting. Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance spoke to the leaders of the UK, France, Germany, Italy, Finland and Poland, as well as EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen and NATO Chief Mark Rutte. European leaders urged Trump not to strike a unilateral Ukraine peace deal with Putin during their meeting in Alaska. Trump reportedly told the Europeans that his goal for the summit was to obtain a ceasefire between Moscow and Kiev. French President Emmanuel Macron said that Trump also agreed that any territorial issues had to be decided with Volodymyr Zelensky's involvement and that security guarantees had to be part of the deal. After the talks, Trump agreed Ukraine must be involved in any discussions about ceding land.
The second point, on which things were very clear and expressed as such by President Trump, is that territorial questions concerning Ukraine can be and will be negotiated only by the Ukrainian president. This is the position that we support. It was very clearly expressed by President Trump.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who hosted the virtual meeting, said the principle that borders could not be changed by force must continue to apply. Merz said that Trump also assured Zelensky and the EU leaders of briefing them on the outcomes of Alaska summit immediately after the end of the meeting.
We have made several points clear for the negotiations. We have made it clear that Ukraine must be at the table when the follow-up meetings take place. We want the negotiations to proceed in the right order. A ceasefire must come first. Essential elements should then be agreed in a framework agreement.
After the talks, UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said that real progress had been made in that respect. He also praised Trump's efforts to reach an agreement, saying there is a viable chance of a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Wednesday he told US President Donald Trump that Vladimir Putin was bluffing about the wanting to end the conflict. At a joint briefing in Berlin with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Zelensky expressed hope that the Trump-Putin meeting on Friday will focus on a ceasefire. Zelensky added that he wanted a three-leader meeting, saying no talks about Ukraine should exclude Kiev. And we've been joined by DD India correspondent Jessica Teneja, who's closely tracking this. Hi, Jessica. Good afternoon. Jessica, what can we expect, when it comes to Trump-Putin meet, given the fact that there are talks going around when it comes to the territorial concessions, which Ukraine has categorically denied, saying that they will not cede land?
That's correct. You heard the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky say that at multiple press conferences that ceding territory is out of question. But you see the task at hand for Donald Trump. Now, these are not unfamiliar situations for the world of geopolitics. You saw the last time in 2019 when he met President Putin. The geopolitics and perhaps the situations were slightly different in terms of power dynamics. This time, Donald Trump, with a thumping majority and almost getting what he wants in this current administration, in this current, moment, he somehow will look for a land for peace deal, or there would be a mutual understanding for this kind of an arrangement, but for a ceasefire to be arrived upon before those deals are signed as to what concessions will be made, whether it is territorial or otherwise, or especially when it comes to Ukraine's membership in NATO and the presence of forces, Ukrainian forces on key territories that are currently contested by Russia. It's important to understand that there are very few very few outlines to this entire structure that this meeting is going to entail, because will there be too much talking, or will there be a lot of listening, or will there be both? What lasting peace at this situation where you have 3 years of this war dragging continuously, Ukrainian forces completely depleting on the borders, and the military aid that continues to push European nations on insisting Americans to have some skin in the game, if not giving particular security guarantees. Now, all of this factors in, and this deal will not be arrived upon so quickly in just first meet. There could be follow-ups as well. But this particular meeting would be interesting and important as well at the same time. Interesting because Donald Trump, who had come into power earlier this year, claiming that he would end this bloodshed and this war in the first 100 days of his presidency, perhaps hasn't happened. And this time around, with Trump, with such power and allure, could wield more power than Vladimir Putin, as some analysts suggest, but those power dynamics are best left for closed-door conversations.
All right, we leave it there. Thank you so much, Jessica. In other news, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is due to meet UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer in London on Thursday. Starmer on Wednesday maintained there was now a viable chance for a Ukraine ceasefire. All right. And joining on the broadcast today is Professor Anshu Joshi. She is from School of International Studies, JNU. A very warm welcome to the broadcast, ma'am. Certainly, all eyes are on Trump-Putin meet in Alaska on August 15. As of now, the EU and Ukraine are not on the table, something they continuously are pressing for. Is something expected to come out from this situation?
It's a very interesting situation, complex situation. And when we, the Indians, would be celebrating our 79th Independence Day tomorrow, it would be really interesting to see how this talk goes on in Alaska, wherein Trump is claiming that now he would, after talking to Putin, he would bring this Russia-Ukraine war to an end. But I don't think that tomorrow itself we would be able to hear any solid declaration in this regard, because I think that unless and until both Putin and Zelensky come to the same table and same point and there is a situation wherein both the leaders agree to the conditions, terms and conditions. So far, so we have seen that Putin wants in written from both Ukraine as well as from NATO members that Ukraine will not join NATO in future, and also the areas captured by Russia will not be returned to Ukraine.
But ma'am, correct, you're right. But as far as the agreements are concerned, there is also a condition that has been put up, when it comes to ceding land, which Zelensky has categorically denied.
Exactly. I was about to come to that point. Please let me complete.
Yeah.
So on one hand, when Putin has already come up with his clear-cut conditions that he would not return these 4 strategic areas captured by Russia, because they create a land corridor towards Crimea, which was already annexed by Russia in past. On the other hand, Zelensky has categorically denied that all these areas actually belong to Ukraine, and he wants all these areas back to Ukraine, and he also wants to be like, he wants to emerge as a war hero, which is not possible at the moment. But because of this tiff between the two leaders and what Trump would be talking to Putin, so far so we have also heard kind of a threat from Trump that if Putin does not agree to his terms and conditions, and if a truce is not declared tomorrow, then Russia will have to bear the repercussions. But I don't think that Putin would come under any kind of pressure, because so far so we have not seen him kneeling down, forget in front of United States of America, in front of whole NATO, because indirectly it's a war between NATO and Russia.
Okay, and the Russian leader doesn't seem to be quaking in his boots as of now. Zelensky, Zelensky on the other hand, ma'am, has said that Putin is bluffing about being interested in peace, and has called for reliable security guarantees, noting that it will not cede land. We were just talking about, and we are talking about the Donbas region here. Moreover, perhaps he does not have the authority to do so as far as their constitution is concerned. Could this be a major impediment in permanently ending this conflict?
See, it's not only related to Donbass, or for that matter, Lugansk. It's also about Zaporizhia and I think Kherson. These are also the important regions wherein at present Russia has captured these areas. When we look at the story from Zelensky's point of view, he definitely wants first and foremost Ukraine to restore to its original, when the war started, how it was, original condition. And who will now pay for this devastated situation in Ukraine remains a pertinent question. Also, he does not want to give all these areas for natural reasons to Russia. But at the moment, we also see there is a tiff between NATO itself, wherein we have seen that how now Zelensky would be meeting the UK PM soon. He has already spoken to German Chancellor, wherein the French President also attended the meeting virtually. And all these countries seem to be in favor of Zelensky at the moment. So it would be interesting to see tomorrow how this talk goes on. But unless and until both the leaders sit on the same table, and unless and until terms and conditions are agreed by both the sides, it's clear that how can we see the announcement related to truce. So there might be some follow-ups. It could be a start tomorrow. After it, there could be some follow-ups wherein officials from both the sides could join the diplomatic table. But I have one point to say that, under pressure and by forcing someone, wars don't end. So unless and until there is a win-win situation, or one side defeats another side on war ground, wars do not end.
Definitely, ma'am. You were just hinting at tomorrow's meeting that it could be a stepping stone, but what President Trump has said, he has warned Russia. So that means a solution has to come out.
On one hand,
and on the other hand, he has also hinted on the second round of talks. So this is a confusing situation in statements by Trump. How do you analyze that?
Trump seems to be in a very confused state of mind at the moment. He's going to meet Putin tomorrow. And just imagine, in the name of Putin and Russia, he has imposed such hefty tariffs on India and Brazil. He's accusing India and Brazil of helping Russia in Russia-Ukraine war by buying oil and gas from Russia. And on the other hand, now he's relying upon Putin, and tomorrow he's going to meet Putin to end this war. So I think Trump in itself seems to be in a very confused state of mind. He gives one statement today, and tomorrow he changes it. So he has given a hint that on one hand, Putin has to agree to all his terms and conditions and announce a truce. On the other hand, he is also hinting towards future talks or follow-up talks. So let's see what happens tomorrow.
All right. Indeed, ma'am. Also, President Trump has also said that there's a very good chance, like I was just mentioning, that they're going to have a second meeting, which will be more productive than the first. So he's already decided in his mind that there will be a second meeting.
That is what I'm saying, that on one hand he's threatening Putin, then he is like kind of pressurizing him through his statements that he has to follow all the terms and conditions which would be put on the table by Trump. And then he's also giving a hint by like follow-up talks that there would be future talks as well. So in that condition, we can make it out that tomorrow it is highly unlikely that the truce or any such kind of announcement related to ceasefire would be announced.
Okay, ma'am. Very quickly, one last question. Very quickly, what do you think about the Zelensky and Keir Starmer meeting? What is likely to come out of that?
Whatever will happen in future, I have to say one thing, that it is Ukraine which has lost everything at the end of the day, at the cost of Zelensky's own ego, or I don't know, I mean, why he is not understanding that it is his country that has paid the price for this war so far, and why he is not understanding that Ukraine is just a puppet in the hands of NATO led by United States of America.
All right, we'll see what will happen tomorrow after the meeting. Thank you so much, ma'am. We'll leave it there.
Thank you.
Now, the latest in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, 3 people were injured in a drone strike by Ukraine between late Wednesday and early Thursday. Dozens of drones were fired in Russia's southern regions, including an oil refinery. The drone struck a car in Russia's Belgorod region, setting it on fire. As a result, all public places in the region are closed and companies have been asked to allow staff to work from homes. In the Volgograd region, the debris from the strike caused oil products to spill and the refinery caught fire. Another 13 people were injured in a Ukrainian drone strike on a residential building in Russia's Rostov-on-Don. And still to come on DD News Hour. US President Donald Trump calls on his fellow Republicans in Congress to pass a crime bill extending the 30-day limit on federal police control in Washington. Brazilian government unveils plans to support local exporters impacted by the 50% tariff imposed by the US. We'll tell you about weather updates from parts of the world.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News. I'm Prasar Bharati. Tensions flare in northwest Washington's U Street corridor Wednesday night as protesters clashed with law enforcement at a police checkpoint. Homeland Security agents, who are part of President Donald Trump's aggressive crime crackdown, faced violent chants from residents. Protesters who were waving signs reading ICE ahead urged drivers to avoid the checkpoint, citing risks of stops for minor infractions like broken tail lights. The crowd cheered as officers towed a vehicle closing the checkpoint before 11 p.m. Donald Trump's takeover, which has been enabled by the Home Rule Act, followed his Monday deployment of 800 National Guard troops, despite city data showing a sharp decline in violent crime since 2023, highlighting a contentious federal intervention in the capital. US President Donald Trump called on his fellow Republicans in a Congress to pass a crime bill extending the 30-day limit on federal police control in Washington. Trump added that the crime-related legislation would initially pertain to the nation's capital. However, it could be used as a model for other US cities. Trump said that if Congress does not pass an extension, he can declare a national emergency in order to extend the 30-day limit.
It's a national emergency. We can do it without Congress, but we expect to be to Congress before Congress very quickly. And again, we think the Democrats will not do anything to stop crime, but we think the Republicans will do it almost unanimously. So we're going to need a crime bill that we're going to be putting in, and it's going to pertain initially to D.C. It's almost, we're going to use it as a very positive example, and we're going to be asking for extensions on that, long-term extensions, because you can't have 30 days.
The Brazilian government has unveiled a plan to support local exporters impacted by the 50% tariff imposed by the United States. Brazilian President Lula da Silva on Wednesday announced the aid package to help exporters hurt by steep U.S. tariffs. The program, called Sovereign Brazil, offers $5.5 billion in credit along with tax relief and insurance support. President Lula said the plan was a first step and vowed that Brazil would not be cowed by Washington's move, which he called baseless. Other measures announced by the Brazilian government include postponing tax charges for companies affected by U.S. tariffs, providing $926,000 in tax credits to small and medium-sized companies until the end of 2026, and expanding access to insurance against cancelled orders. The plan also incentivizes public purchases of items that could not be exported to the U.S. The measures take effect immediately but will only stay in place for 4 months unless congressional leaders act. U.S. President Donald Trump hiked duties on several goods from Brazil to 50% from 10% earlier this month. Although some sectors were exempted from the steeper levies, the move is still set to hurt industries such as coffee, beef, seafood, textiles, footwear and fruit. Brazilian President Lula Inácio Lula da Silva had already signaled his administration would not immediately retaliate against the tariff hike, instead prioritizing support for the most affected sectors. Peru President Dina Boluarte signed a law pardoning military and police officers accused of human rights abuses committed from 1980 to 2000. According to the National Human Rights Coordinator, the pardon will effectively halt or overturn more than 600 pending trials and 156 sentences against security officials for abuses committed during clashes with insurgent groups like the Shining Path, which resulted in an estimated 69,000 deaths and disappearances. Lawmakers from the right-wing Popular Force Party, which backed the measure, argued the law was necessary to end hundreds of trials that have stalled for over 2 decades without a verdict. Talks on a global treaty to curb plastic pollution are due to end on Thursday at the United Nations in Geneva, but efforts to establish a significant treaty aimed at addressing plastic pollution fell into chaos, as numerous nations dismissed the most recent draft document, resulting in a stalemate in the negotiations. The new draft on the plastics treaty shared on the penultimate day of the Globe negotiations has left out provisions on plastic production cuts, chemicals of concerns, and no clear definition of plastics, threatening to derail consensus on an agreement. Significant divisions remain between oil-producing countries who oppose caps on virgin plastic production fueled by petroleum, coal and gas, and parties such as the European Union and small island states which advocate for limits as well as stronger management of plastic products and hazardous chemicals. Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Countless families lost relatives during World War II without ever knowing their fate. However, 82-year-old Jose Villafuerte, former grave digger, is among the 3,000 rare people who were in the Philippines before or during World War II, has finally located his Japanese father's tombstone in the city of Takatsuki with the support of an advocacy group. Thousands of artists from across the world exhibited their works at the Darwin Aboriginal Art Fair in Australia. It's a huge revenue raiser for remote community art centers and a powerful way for artists to share stories and learn from one another. Organizers estimate the fair will generate more than $4 million in revenue, with stalls making around 25% of their annual return. Australia's most remote indigenous communities have long dreamed of hosting their own rodeo, a contest in which cowboys show their skill at riding broncos, roping calves, and wrestling steers.
for Asia, Tito.
Roborn's
The
first
teenager has
rodeo
been
was
riding
held
for just
last weekend,
3
with the
years.
inaugural attracting thousands to the outback town. It has taken years of detailed planning and coordination to get this event off the ground. On to weather updates. The global landscape is bearing the brunt of wildfires. From Europe to the Americas, intense blazes fueled by heat waves and drought have triggered mass evacuations and stretched emergency services to their limits. Greece is facing over a dozen major wildfires. Nearly 5,000 firefighters, 62 aircraft and Coast Guard vessels are battling flames amid strong winds and extreme heat. Authorities warn of a very difficult day ahead. In the Western Europe, owing to the severe wildfire, Spain has requested EU aid, including waterbombing planes, to fight multiple wildfires. Over 6,000 people have been evacuated. 7 are hospitalized with burns, 4 in critical condition. Portugal has deployed 2,100 firefighters and 20 aircraft to tackle 5 major wildfires. The central municipality of Transcoso remains worst hit, with fires raging since Saturday. The regions of Balkans too aren't behind. Wildfires has stretched emergency services in the nations of Albania and Montenegro. Drought and heat have worsened conditions, prompting evacuations in Albania. Cooler weather in Montenegro has helped protect homes. In the Americas, Canada is battling its second worst wildfire season. Over 700 fires are active, with 161 out of control. Thousands are under evacuation orders across nearly every province and territory. Weakening to a tropical storm, Podal passed by Hong Kong on Thursday, dumping heavy downpour and disrupting routine as authorities issued highest level black rainstorm warning. The heavy rains forced closure of schools and hospital services across many places. Many flights were also cancelled due to bad weather. Podal was recorded making a landfall on the coast of China's southwestern province of Fujian at 12:30 local time, 16:30 GMT Wednesday, dumping more than 70 millimeters, 2.76 inches of rain an hour in various provinces. Earlier, the Podal made landfall in fact in Taiwan on Wednesday, lashing heavily at the island nation, due to which one person was reported missing while several others were injured. In India, the Meteorological Department has issued heavy to very heavy rainfall alerts across the country. For Uttarakhand and Jammu and Kashmir, there's an orange alert, with Uttarakhand expected to experience heavy to very heavy rainfall till Tuesday, while Jammu and Kashmir expected to experience heavy to very heavy rainfall till Monday. Meanwhile, relief and rescue operations are ongoing for the 10th day in Dharali following a recent natural disaster. Border Roads Organization is working day and night on the highway to reach Dharali natural disaster. At the same time, due to the rise in the water level of Ma Ganga in late evening, the Balkandar temple is in danger due to rapid erosion. Whereas Telangana government has ordered the closure of all schools in 5 districts on Thursday following a red alert issued by the India Meteorological Department. Schools in Hyderabad will operate for half a day, while IT companies have been advised to allow employees to work from home. Heavy rain lashed Delhi and parts of NCR Thursday morning, prompting the India Meteorological Department to issue a red alert for the day. IMD has predicted thunderstorm and lightning with heavy rains over the course of 3 hours at several places in the national capital. As per the radar shared by IMD, intense rain bands could be seen surrounding the areas of Delhi NCR. Heavy rainfall has continued across most districts of Himachal Pradesh over the past 24 hours, triggering incidents of cloudbursts, floods. The worst hit area is the Rampur region of Shimla district, particularly the lower hills near the Shrikand Mahadev area. In Sirmour's hilly areas like Rajgarh, cloudbursts and landslides have blocked roads, isolating communities. Shimla's Jubal and Chopal subdivisions also face road closures due to landslides, prompting similar school shutdowns. Further, the upper districts and Punjab bordering plains remain affected heavily. Flood-like conditions have led to waterlogged roads and widespread chaos. As per the state orders, schools and colleges in Una, Hamirpur, Sirmaur, Nalagarh and Nahan have been shut down. Authorities are on high alert as rescue efforts continue amid worsening weather, highlighting the region's vulnerability to extreme monsoon events. And DD India's Shrishti is joining us live from Kullu. Hi Shrishti, a very good afternoon to you. I want to know the situation of where you are right now and what's your assessment?
Yes, due to the rainfall which was happening in the different regions of Himachal Pradesh, today the IMD has issued the red alert in several regions, while in Kullu there was a yellow alert for the heavy rainfall in this region. While I want to tell you that today the weather is quite clear today, and the incidence of cloudbursts happened in several areas of Himachal Pradesh yesterday, which led to several roads has been damaged due to this. I want to tell you that when the Tirthan Valley of Kullu region was affected by the cloudburst, while because of this incident, 4 houses were damaged and 4 vehicles were swept away. While
all right.
sorry.
It's absolutely all right. We leave it there, Shrishti. Thank you so much for all these updates. And still to come on the Indian News Hour. In line with India's Independence Day 2025 celebrations, the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign saw enthusiastic participation across the country.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of our top stories. US President Donald Trump warns Russia of severe consequences if Alaska meet fails to achieve ceasefire. Europe's coalition of willing urges for Ukraine's involvement in Trump-Putin meet, calls for lasting peace in region as Zelensky to meet Starmer in UK. President Draupadi Murmu to address the nation on the eve of 79th Independence Day. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to lead the Independence Day celebrations from the iconic Red Fort in Delhi. President Draupadi Murmu will address the nation on the eve of 79th Independence Day. The address will be broadcast from 1900 hours IST on the entire national network of All India Radio and telecast over all channels of Doordarshan in Hindi, followed by the English version. Broadcast of the address in Hindi and English on Doordarshan will be followed by broadcast in regional languages by regional channels of Doordarshan. All India Radio will broadcast regional language versions at 21:30 hours IST on its respective regional networks. The nation will celebrate the 79th Independence Day on August 15 with Prime Minister Narendra Modi leading the celebrations from the iconic Red Fort in Delhi. The Prime Minister will hoist the national flag and address the nation from the ramparts of the iconic monument. As the nation is making joint strides towards realizing the government's vision of Vikasit Bharat by 2047, the theme of this year's celebration is Naya Bharat. The celebrations will serve as a platform to commemorate the continuing rise of a prosperous, secure and bold Naya Bharat and provide renewed power to surge further ahead on the path to progress. The success of Operation Sindoor will be celebrated during the Independence Day celebrations this year. And approximately 5,000 special guests from different walks of life have been invited to witness the celebrations at Red Fort this year. Over 1,500 people from various states, union territories, dressed in traditional attire have also been invited to witness the grand ceremony. As part of India's Independence Day 2025 celebrations, the Har Ghar Tiranga Yatra received enthusiastic participation nationwide. In New Delhi, the traffic police held a bike rally, actively promoting the campaign through rallies, school visits and patriotic programs. A Tiranga rally was organized in Udhampur, Jammu and Kashmir ahead of the Independence Day, featuring a 2-kilometer long national flag with the aim of promoting unity and national pride. Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Mohan Yadav participated in the Nauka Tiranga Yatra at Bhopal's Boat Club as part of the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. Speaking to the citizens, he praised Bhopal's rich heritage and highlighted the success of Operation Sindoor. In Mayurbhanj district of Orissa, administration organized a 200 feet long Tiranga rally to promote national pride and unity ahead of the 79th Independence Day. Flags were distributed across colleges, schools and Anganwadi centers, encouraging every household to hoist the tricolour. From cities to villages, the tricolour rises, carrying the hopes and pride of India. The Har Ghar Tiranga campaign has grown into a living celebration. Carried by the spirit of public participation, the campaign was launched under the aegis of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, which was envisioned as a way to transform India's relationship with its national flag from a purely formal and institutional symbol into one that is deeply personal. Har Ghar Tiranga 2025 unites India in 3 phases: art and history from 2nd August to 8th of August, patriotic events from 9th to 12th, and flag hoisting with selfies from 13th till 15th. Over 5 lakh volunteers spread awareness, while cleanup drives, quizzes, art, letter writing, rallies, concerts and melas promote patriotism. Citizens also earn digital badges by uploading selfies at the harghartiranga.com website, honoring the Indian flag's legacy. All right, and DD India's Akshay Dongre is joining us live. Hi Akshay, very good afternoon to you. Akshay, how's the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign going on in the national capital?
Well, be it Har Ghar Tiranga campaign, Siddharth, or the other campaigns that are going on around the national capital as well as around the country are going on with full fervor. And even in the national capital, despite of heavy rains and outpouring that started since yesterday, the enthusiasm refuses to die down. The city, everyone is decked up, though people are at home because of the consistent rain that are happening. But it has failed to sort of lower any kind of enthusiasm that is there among the people of the country on the 79th Independence Day.
Indeed, Akshay, we also hope that you're also celebrating, also participating in the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. Tell us about some competitions and events taking place as part of the campaign, Akshay.
Well, the biggest part of the celebrations tomorrow is to be sort of giving a respect to the armed forces of the country who have risked their life, who have put their life in line during Operation Sindoor, a very recent, very high-risk operation that they conducted so successfully that we are getting the news now that how impactful that has been. The number of fighter jets of Pakistan that have been shot down, who have been trying to attack the Indian cities, and the kind of attacks that have taken place at the terrorist shelters, and the destruction of terror infrastructure that has happened in Pakistan. So that is going to be the key part. But besides that, there are going to be Prime Minister who will be paying his homage to the soldiers, making a speech to the nation marking the 79th day of independence, along with other events that will take place across the country to mark the 79th Independence Day, which is going to be quite special given the fact that India has now truly started to demonstrate the kind of programs that it has been adapting since the last 10 years.
All right, Akshay, we leave it there. Thank you so much. As India observes Partition Horrors Remembrance Day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid heartfelt tribute to the grit and resilience of those affected by the partition, acknowledging their ability to face unimaginable loss and still find the strength to rebuild their lives. On social media platform X, PM Modi said, India observes Partition Horrors Remembrance Day, remembering the upheaval and pain endured by countless people during that tragic chapter of our history. It is also a day to honor their grit, their ability to face unimaginable loss and still find the strength to start afresh. Many of those affected went on to rebuild their lives and achieve remarkable milestones. This day is also a reminder of our enduring responsibility to strengthen the bonds of harmony that hold our country together. Unquote. Partition Horrors Remembrance Day is observed annually on August 14 in India to honor millions of people who suffered during the partition of India and Pakistan in 1947. Here's a report.
August 14th, 1947. A day etched in history not only as the birth of two nations, India and Pakistan, but also the beginning of one of the most painful chapters in human memory. On this day, India remembers millions whose lives were torn apart by the partition of India. Indians honor the resilience of those who endured unimaginable suffering during the division of British India. Declared in 2021, this day is a solemn tribute to the victims of one of the largest mass migrations in history.
अब से हर वर्ष 14 अगस्त को विभाजन विभीषिका स्मृति दिवस के रूप में याद किया जाएगा। जो लोग विभाजन के समय अमानवीय हालात से गुजरे, जिन्होंने अत्याचार सहे, जिन्हें सम्मान के साथ अंतिम संस्कार तक नसीब नहीं हुआ, उन लोगों का हमारी स्मृतियों में जीवित रहना भी उतना ही जरूरी है।
After this announcement by India's Prime Minister, Partition Horrors Remembrance Day is observed annually on August 14 in India to commemorate the victims who suffered during the partition of India in 1947. The goal is to educate, to reflect, and to ensure that such horrors are never repeated. So let's understand in details what actually happened during India's partition. On February 20, 1947, British Prime Minister Clement Attlee announced in the House of Commons that the government had decided to leave India by transfer of power before June 30, 1948. However, the entire process was expedited by Lord Mountbatten a year earlier. Mountbatten returned to New Delhi on 31st May 1947 with approval for the transfer of power from London. The plan of partition was broadly agreed upon in the historic meeting on June 2, 1947. The Indian Independence Act 1947 received royal assent and came into force on 18th July 1947. This act implemented the Mountbatten Plan for the independence and partition of India. India attained its freedom from British rule on the 15th of August 1947, which is celebrated as Independence Day each year in India. The partition caused amongst the largest migrations in human history, affecting about 20 million people. Millions of families had to abandon their ancestral villages, towns, cities, and were forced to find a new life as refugees. The divide and rule policy of the British strategically seeded the roots of communalism in India and was later cultivated by Jinnah and the Muslim League, with his policy of the two-nation theory, which was the prime reason for the creation of Pakistan. The partition of India is a story of violence, cruelty, rape, torture, unprecedented human displacement, and forced migration. It is a story in which millions sought new homes in environments that were alien and resistive. Partition Horrors Remembrance Day is not just about looking back. It's about building bridges between communities, generations, and nations. Bureau Report, DD India.
And still to come on DD Indian News Hour. Dr. Way's Pace, Olympian and father of tennis great Leander Pace, dies at 80. FC Goa beat Oman champions Al Seeb 2-1, qualify for AFC Champions League 2 group stage. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Bitcoin hit a record high on Thursday, driven by anticipated Federal Reserve policy changes and new financial reforms. The world's largest crypto asset by market capitalization climbed to $124,249 in early Asia trading, surpassing its previous peak hit in July. On the day, the second largest crypto token Ether hit $4,780.04, the highest level since late 2021. Bitcoin has risen nearly 32% so far in 2025 on the back of long-sought regulatory wins for the sector following President Donald Trump's return to the White House. Trump has called himself the crypto president, and his family has made a series of forays into this sector over the past year. Global markets paused after a rally as traders bet on a Federal Reserve rate cut in September, with a 99.9% chance of a 25 basis point reduction per CME's FedWatch tool. The US dollar hit a two-week low, dropping 0.7% to 146.35 yen after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent suggested the Bank of Japan may hike rates. S&P 500 futures were little changed after the benchmark noted a record close for a second straight session. Europe's Stoxx 600 rose 0.3%. Treasuries extended recent gains, with the yield on 10-year notes dropping 2 basis points to 4.21%, while the UK's FTSE 100 fell 0.2% despite 0.3% GDP growth. Gold and oil prices edged up. Investors await US inflation and retail sales data, while with focus on US-Russia talks potentially impacting oil markets. In the US, President Donald Trump has been promising to forge trade deals with nations around the globe. Some have already been signed, even though there's been lots of confusion around it. Case in point, the EU. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin. Hi, Lars. What's the confusion in this US-EU trade deal? Lars.
Thanks for having me. Well, we've known for a long time that any deal with Donald Trump wouldn't be as easy to follow through with as maybe deals with other leaders. One reason, obviously, is the absolute rush that the White House seems to be in to uproot trade relations with nations around the globe. That includes, of course, the EU. Now, transatlantic trade had long been going very well with goods and services worth hundreds of billions of dollars or euros going back and forth. Except Trump saw this trade deficit his country had with the EU and it took it as a sign of the US being ripped off. And he wanted to negotiate a new deal. He got that deal in record time as the EU was trying to avoid punishing tariffs from Washington. That is obviously with the EU economy being dependent on exports and obviously interested in smooth trade relations and low barriers. Now, the problem, despite the Trump regime promising to take down punitive tariffs on cars from the EU or to lower them from 27.5% to only 15%, that downgrade of tariffs has actually never happened. It's about 2 weeks overdue now, and nobody really knows when tariffs will actually go to the levels promised.
Okay, Lars, what does it mean for the EU and its auto industry then?
First of all, it costs them millions at this point. Currently, car makers have to pay tariffs of 27.5% on all cars brought into the United States instead of these 15% promised, and that's just very expensive. Although obviously the cost is being passed on to importers and then finally to consumers, there is obviously a toll on each and every car maker since it's harder to sell cars at higher prices, and that cuts into any company's bottom line. At the same time, it's costing markets too in a less tangible way. See, Trump has sown chaos and confusion with his trade policy in general. That's with the president announcing random tariffs, as he did during the infamous White House press conference, where he assigned tariff rates to all his trading partners. He's been scrambling for deals, looking for 90 trade deals in 90 days, something that trade experts have long said would not be possible to achieve. It all adds to the general economic uncertainty surrounding the US now, with Trump also undermining the reliability of economic data, as seen earlier this month when he replaced the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics after he didn't like the current job market report. All this has been bothering markets, and with the US being the biggest, or at least one of the biggest trading partners for a majority of the countries in the world, this is something to worry about.
All right, Lars, thank you so much for all those updates. And time now for sport updates. Paris Saint-Germain secured their 5th trophy of 2025 by defeating Tottenham 4-3 in a penalty shootout at the UEFA Super Cup in Italy on Wednesday. PSG mounted a remarkable comeback, scoring 2 late goals to force penalties before clinching victory in the annual match between Champions League and Europa League winners. The match seemed to be going Tottenham's way when they established a 2-0 lead early in the second half through goals from the defenders. Mickey van der Ven opened the scoring in the 39th minute. Newly appointed Tottenham captain Christian Romero doubled the lead in the 48th minute with a header. PSG showed remarkable resilience in the closing stages. Lee Kang-in brought them back into the game with a powerful low shot from the edge of the area in the 85th minute. Gonzalo Ramos then forced the match into penalties with a dramatic equalizer. Indian Super League side FC Goa edged out Oman's Al Seeb club by 2-1 scoreline in preliminary stage of the FC Champions League 2 at the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium in Goa. With this win, FC Goa qualified for the AFC Champions League 2 group stage. Al Seeb club created a few chances early in the game, but the FC Goa defensive line, led by Sandesh Jingan, stood strong to absorb the initial pressure. Dejan Dragic and Javier Severio scored for FC Goa as they managed to keep out some sprinted attacks from Al Seeb towards the end of both the halves. Goa will now discover their group stage opponents on Friday. And Dr. Wes Pace, a 1972 Munich Olympics hockey bronze medalist and father of tennis great Leander Pace, died early Thursday after a long illness at a local hospital. He was 80 and is survived by his wife, son and daughter. Dr. Pace was a rare mix of medical skill and sporting talent. He was born in 1945 in Goa, an energetic centre-half. His career overlapped with 1975 World Cup winning captain Ajit Pal Singh. He started playing hockey in school and college. While still a medical student, he earned a place in the Indian team. He made his international debut at the Hamburg International Cup in 1966. He also played for top clubs like Mohun Bagan and East Bengal. President of the Ice Skating Association of India, Amitabh Sharma, said India is excited to bid for the 2030 Commonwealth Games, calling it an opportunity to include new medal sports in the event. In an exclusive chat with DD India correspondent Narayan Singh, he praised the government for passing the Sports Governance Bill in both houses of parliament.
The special general meeting of the Indian Olympic Association took place in Delhi, and right now I am joined by the President of the Ice Skating Association of India, Amitabh Sharma ji. Sir, a very warm welcome, a very important special general meeting. So, regarding the Commonwealth Games, what was the key points of discussion?
It was a special annual general body meeting, and in this there were key points, of course, the administrative points for approval of the accounts, which was a bit pending, that was completed. Second point was that the most highlighted was that we as a nation are absolutely excited and ready to host the 2030 Commonwealth Games in India. And everybody was in one particular, I would say, euphoria that let's make this happen. India should be a great host. And it will also give us an opportunity to add certain medal sports from the Indian diaspora, from the Indian nation, which can be part of this. As you know that the new sports bill has just recently got passed in the Rajya Sabha. So the entire sporting community is really very overwhelmed. They are very thankful to the government of India.
But talking about the Olympics, the way things are happening, all the stakeholders are coming together to make it a grand success. So what are the, if we talk about the Olympics, how the preparations are going on to bid for that coveted event?
Well, you see, when it talks about the preparation for the Olympics, when you talk about venue management, when you talk about, it's still a long drawn process. There is still time for that. More importantly is the will. More important at this point of time is setting the ball rolling in the correct direction, that India is prepared, India has the infrastructure, or India has the capability of bringing in the new infrastructure that is required, and on top of everything, the zeal that this will happen in India. So all this is going in the right direction. The memento is flowing. We are definitely in pursuit, and I think we will be one of the most senior contenders, most serious contenders.
So all people are in the right direction. The IOA, the government and SI, all are making a concreted effort so that the Olympics in India will be a big and grand event. Apart from that, there is we can say that a consensus over the hosting of the 2030 Commonwealth Games in India. With camera person Uttam, Narayan Singh, DD India, Delhi.
Japan's Awa Odori festival featured 1,700 dancers blending graceful and energetic moves in celebration. Hundreds of dancers demonstrated their skills at the Japanese city of Tokushima. Women performed elegant dance moves in synchronized steps with one another, while men danced with energy, highlighting the festival's rich tradition. I hope you like that dance. That's it for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.